Yes, Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Roma Wines, present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines brings the MGM star, Miss Susan Peters, in They Call Me Patrice, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense. Radio's outstanding theater of thrills is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better-tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you Susan Peters in a remarkable tale of
Suspense.
It was on the train that I first met Patrice. It was all over and done with, and I was on my way back to San Francisco. Not that I cared much just then where I was going, but at least I had friends in San Francisco, and it would be easier there as long as I had to start out from scratch again anyway. She was one of those friendly, trusting, wide-eyed girls who give you their life history at the drop of a hat. Besides, she was happy. She wanted to talk. She was a bride.
My, that was a good dinner. Do you think I'll ever be able to cook a meal like Aunt Hugh?
You can't do better than that. It's the divorce courts for you, young lady.
Why, Mr. Hazard, I thought it was a wonderful dinner, and thank you.
Oh, forget it. Nice to have you with us.
Hugh, I think I'll step into the ladies' lounge here and do a little primping. I always feel so messy on these trays.
Okay, I'll meet you back in our seats.
You want to come with me, Helen?
All right, yes.
Well, tomorrow when we arrive, the worst will be over. Hugh says I'm silly, but I can't help being nervous.
Nervous?
About meeting his people. His brother and his mother, that is. His dad is dead. They're terribly wealthy, I guess. I suppose I'm a snob. That shouldn't make any difference, should it?
It's nice, though. Oh, but they'll like you, don't you worry.
But sometimes I'm afraid they'll expect that nothing less than a raving beauty is good enough for their Hugh. And I know I'm not that.
Well, don't they even know what you look like?
Not even a picture. Isn't that awful? But you see, we were married in Europe. We were both working for UNRWA. And then we had a chance to get a boat right back home the next day. And all we had time to do was to send them a cable. And now I'm scared to death.
Well, does your own family live in California?
Oh, I don't have any family.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. It was a long time ago. Oh, would you mind holding my ring while I wash? I have such a horror of losing it. It slipped down a drain in Paris once, and they had to take out the whole pipe to get it back.
Oh, it's a lovely ring.
Isn't it? I told you we shouldn't spend so much money on a ring. But you know how men are sometimes. Oh, let's see what it says on the inside.
Hugh and Patrice. That's nice.
Try it on if you want to.
Isn't it supposed to be bad luck? I mean to take your ring off.
Bad luck? I couldn't have bad luck. Oh, my. My, this road is rough.
At first it seemed as though everything was white. White ceiling, white porcelain things around me. White uniform bending over me, the white coverlet on the bed. My hands lying there, pale and white, too. Then I saw a ring on the third finger of my left hand. I brought it up before my eyes. Things began to come back again.
Well, how are you feeling now?
How long have I been here?
Almost 2 days.
What happened? What happened to...
To who?
There was another girl. I was talking to another girl, and then... Is she all right?
Did you know her very well?
Just on the train. Is she all right?
No.
She's dead?
Yes.
Oh.
Is there anyone else you want to ask about?
What happened to...
To him?
Yes.
You're going to have to be a very brave girl. Can you be?
Yes.
Your husband wasn't saved either, Patrice.
For a long while, I just lay there thinking. I hadn't decided yet. I was just thinking. Things that she told me echoing around in my head. They're terribly wealthy. Never seen me, not even a picture. No family of my own. They're terribly wealthy. Terribly wealthy. The next afternoon, the nurse came in with a big bunch of flowers.
Well, we're looking much better today.
I feel better. Where did these come from?
Do you think you feel well enough to have visitors?
Visitors?
Of course, you don't have to.
Who?
Or can't you guess, honey?
Oh, but I don't think that
now, honey, it'll do you a world of good.
I'm frightened.
Frightened?
But I've never seen them before.
You haven't? Well, I declare, but don't you worry one little bit, honey. They're just the nicest folks you'd ever want to meet anywhere. I know they think an awful lot of you.
Do they?
I'll bring them in. Mrs. Hazard, you can come in now. Only just a minute or two, though.
Yes, I understand.
Patrice,
I'm Hugh's mother.
how do you do?
And this is my other son, Bill.
Hello, Patrice.
Hello.
My dear, you know, of course, we can only stay a minute this time. And I don't want to talk about anything that's painful to you.
It's all right.
I just want you to know that your loss, our loss, is something I hope we can overcome together.
We both feel that, Patrice.
Thank you.
Now, as soon as you're well, in just a few days, we're going to take you home with us to Caulfield. And we want you to know that our home will be your home. Always.
Oh, I don't see how
Now, you let us do the planning for a while, Patrice. I'm afraid you're not in very good shape for it just yet.
Patrice, from everything we both know of Hugh, we know he'd want it that way, don't we? It's hard to lose a son, as it was hard for you to lose your mother.
I know.
But it'll all be easier now that I have a daughter. And you have a mother. Do you see?
I don't know what to say, Mrs. Hazard.
Not Mrs. Hazard, dear. From now on, it's Mother.
You see,
Come on, my dear. Say it.
Yes, Mother.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Susan Peters in They Call Me Patrice by Cornell Woolrich. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Ken Niles for Roma Wines. 10 more shopping days till Christmas. And if your shopping isn't done, why not solve both your gift-giving and entertaining problems this easy, gracious way? Buy an assorted case of Grand Estate wines. Use several bottles for gifts of outstanding distinction. Use the remaining Grand Estate wines to serve your every holiday, dining, and entertaining need. Grand Estate wines, the crowning achievement of vintner skill, are presented by Roma, America's greatest winemaker. You can give or serve Grand Estate wines proudly to anyone. For the taste excellence of Grand Estate wines bespeaks your desire to offer only the finest. Distinguish your Christmas giving and hospitality with all 5 Grand Estate California wines. For gracious entertaining, medium sherry, ruby port, and golden muscatel. For distinctive dining, Burgundy and Sauterne. This year, say Merry Christmas smartly with Grand Estate wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Susan Peters in They Call Me Patrice, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
What would you have done? Don't judge me unless you've worked in a hash house or behind the counter of a third-rate department store, scrimped and starved to keep up appearances. Don't judge me unless you've been through that. And suddenly a chance to trade it all in for security and wealth and a home. Just because somebody somewhere made a little mistake. You're the daughter-in-law of a wealthy family in California. All you have to do is keep your mouth shut and not deny it. What would you have done? I kept my mouth shut. And there were clothes and a car and a lovely room of my own. And a mother. And Bill. Bill was my brother-in-law. The brother-in-law of Patrice. Because I wasn't Helen Georgeson anymore. I wasn't the poor, bedraggled little girl who'd been divorced 2 months ago by a rotten leech of a husband. I was Patrice for 2 months. And then everything seemed to happen at once. In just one day. Today. It began at breakfast this morning.
More coffee, Bill?
No, thanks. I have to run in a minute.
You know, Patrice, I was in Paris once as a girl. Oh, many years ago. Tell me, has it changed much since those days?
Changed?
Well, how can she answer that, Mother? She wasn't there when you were, so how could she know if it's different than it was then?
Oh, you know what I mean. Don't be so technical.
Why, yes, it has changed, I suppose.
You and Hugh were married there, weren't you?
Well, no, Mother. London. Don't you remember the letter with some London letterhead?
You mean the cable?
No, dear, I remember the cable, of course. I mean the letter. And I'm positive it had a Paris postmark, Bill. I have it right upstairs somewhere. I can show you.
Well, you hardly have to do that. Patrice certainly knows where she was married.
All right, Smarty, we'll see. Which was it, Patrice? London or Paris?
It was London.
Well, I could have sworn...
But we left right away for Paris. I think what happened was that Hugh wrote the letter in London, and, well, he didn't get a chance to mail it until we got to Paris.
Well, that probably was it. It's funny, I don't remember anything about London, though.
Mrs. Hazard, the morning mail.
Oh, thank you, Stevens. Just put it right down here.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, bills, bills, bills. And circulars. Well, here's one for you, Bill.
Huh?
Fred Ellis, I guess.
Oh, thanks.
Why, Patrice, here's one for you.
For me?
Uh-huh. It's a local postmark, too. I wonder who it could be from.
I don't know.
What? Patrice, where are you going?
I just remembered. I think I left the bathwater running.
The bathwater?
The letter was typewritten. Was unsigned. All it said was, I know who you are. It was in the afternoon that I got the phone call. And the hours in between were almost worse than anything else that's happened. Wondering who it was that knew who I was. It was just by luck that I was downstairs when it rang. Hello?
I'd like to speak to Mrs. Hazard, please. The younger Mrs. Hazard.
This is she.
Oh. Hello, Helen. This is Steve.
Steve.
Well, I'm glad at least that you remember me. I was afraid that, under the circumstances, you might have forgotten.
What do you want?
I want to see you.
You know I can't do that.
Oh, but I must. I want to hear all about it, the train wreck and everything.
It can't be done.
Now, Helen, I simply won't take no for an answer. You'll drive out of town along the lake road, and about 5 miles out on the left, you'll see a little bungalow with a green coupe standing in front of it. I'll be waiting.
Look, Steve,
Helen, for your own good, I think you'd better come. In fact, I know you'd better come.
I went, of course. He hadn't changed. A little more run down at the heel, a little more cynical and sardonic than usual, perhaps. But he hadn't changed. Oh, no, he hadn't changed.
And after I heard about the train wreck, it was comparatively simple. Oh, by the way, I identified your body. You owe me something for that, at least.
Owe you something?
Well, don't you think so? What are you doing, mental arithmetic?
I'm wondering how I could ever have married a man who'd stooped to blackmail.
Oh, come, Helen, let's not be emotional about this. You have a very nice thing here.
I don't have a thing. They have the money,
But you do have your own bank account, don't you?
How much do you want?
Now, I'm going to be very fair with you, Helen. The truth is, I just needed a little, just enough for a little business venture in Mexico.
How much?
Only $1,000. If you've neglected to bring your checkbook with you, I have one here.
A check?
I said I was going to be fair, Helen. Now, don't you see, when the check goes through the bank and comes back to you with my signature on it, you'll have evidence against me. I think you called it blackmail.
Do you know another name for it?
I think you're being a little unkind, considering that when you get that check back, you'll have permanent insurance against my asking you for any more. Now, here. Make the check out to me, Helen, not to cash. The name is Stephen Georgeson, if you remember.
I remember.
Thank you. I have an idea I shall make a very handsome profit on this little investment.
I hope you do.
And when I do, darling, I promise that you will be the first to know.
That should have been enough. Enough for one day. But I might have known that it wouldn't be. I might have known if I'd stopped to think that I was only getting in deeper and deeper. There was a strange car in front of the house when I got back. Tried to come in quietly for fear someone would ask where I'd been. The family was in the library, and they couldn't help but see me.
Oh, Patrice!
Yes, Mother?
Won't you come in a minute, my dear? Patrice, do you know Mr. Winthrop?
I don't believe I do.
Mr. Winthrop is our attorney.
How do you do? Sit down, Patrice. Join the party.
Yes, dear, we want you to hear this. It concerns you.
Well, I think I've just about done my part. The rest of it's up to you two.
All right. Shall I sign now?
Well, I think you'd better tell Patrice first. Don't you think she ought to know?
Well, I'll tell her if you like. Perhaps I can explain it a little easier. You see, Mrs. Hazard is changing her will.
Her will?
Yes. Previously, her estate had been equally divided between her two sons. But now, since there is only one remaining heir, that is Bill, she is adding a codicil providing that one half of her estate shall now go to you.
Well, don't look that way about it, Patrice. You're not doing anybody out of anything. I have the business Dad left me.
No, you mustn't do it.
Why, it was Bill's own suggestion, my dear.
I don't want any part of it.
Don't you see? She feels that way on account of Hugh.
I know, but Patrice.
You'd better go after her. Try to talk to her.
All right. Patrice, wait a minute. Listen to me. Patrice, what in the world?
Oh, you and your mother have been so wonderful to me.
Well, why not? You're one of the family now.
Oh, I don't deserve it, that's all.
Listen, Patrice. Something I want to tell you. Very seriously. I'll admit that at first I wondered if you're coming to us. If the money had anything to do with it. I wondered about one or two other little things, but now I know. Because I know you, but changing the will won't really make any difference now because I...
No, wait, Bill. Don't.
You know, don't you?
Bill, not yet. This isn't the time.
I know it hasn't been very long, but I've got to tell you now. I love you, Patrice. I want you to marry me.
Oh, Bill.
Is it as bad as all that? I know I didn't say it right, but I see you every day, Patrice. I'm with you every day. I just...
Why couldn't you have given me just a few more days?
Then there is some hope, Patrice?
I don't know.
Patrice, is it the past?
Oh, no. I've never really been in love. I've got to go now, Bill.
Are you afraid I'd kiss you?
I'm afraid I'll want you to. So you see, it wasn't just the money, the security anymore. I'd have loved him if he'd been a pauper. This is it, he said. This was it, all right. First, I hadn't wanted to go to the dance at the country club and be stared at and asked tactful questions about Hugh. But now I was glad. Now it was pure escape from the turmoil of my thoughts, the guilt and the indecision. Pure escape, I thought.
Well, if I'd known you danced this well...
Do I?
Hasn't anyone ever told you that before?
Oh, not really.
Well, then I'll continue. that you're by far the most beautiful girl here.
Am I?
Well, you know quite well you're perfectly aware of all this. And if you weren't, one look at the stag line would tell you. Patrice, what's the matter?
I must have stumbled.
Stumbled? Not you.
I beg your pardon. May I cut in?
Oh, Mrs. Hazard? Mr. Georgeson.
Well, this is a very great pleasure, Mrs. Hazard.
Bill, I'll see you later.
Right, Patrice.
What are you doing here?
Oh, I've been moving in quite the best circles, didn't you know?
You shouldn't be dancing with me.
Why not?
You know why not. It's not safe.
Is there anything that is for someone in your position?
Leave me alone, can't you?
I want to talk to you about that check.
No, not here.
I think you're right. Let's go out on the veranda. What I have to say won't take very long. Yes, I think it's much better out here.
All right, Steve. What about the check?
Oh, yes, indeed, yes. It's quite the nicest check I've ever had. In fact, I've still got it.
Aren't you going to cash it?
I'm afraid you weren't thinking very clearly this afternoon, Helen. Remember, I told you that once that check passed through the bank and came back to you with my signature on it, you would be holding evidence against me?
Yes.
Well, of course, if I don't cash it, if I just hang on to it, then I'm holding evidence against you. Quite damaging evidence, you see.
What do you want now?
Helen, I'm afraid I'm not interested in a mere $1,000.
Then give it back to me and I'll give you more, whatever I can.
Oh, no, Helen, no. I have no intention of giving this check back to you. But do you see this envelope?
Yes.
You'll notice that it's addressed to William Hazard at his office so that you can't intercept it. It contains that check, and it's going into the mail tonight.
You wouldn't, Steve.
Oh, yes, I would, unless...
Unless what?
Unless you take a little drive with me that I've planned for tonight. It's not far, just to Hastings, but it's just over the state line, and there's a justice of the peace there.
Justice of the peace?
Yes, and he's going to make us man and wife all over again. Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Georgeson.
Steve!
No? Then I'll mail the check tonight.
Why? Why do you have to do this?
Mrs. Hazard, whom you've been calling your mother-in-law, can't last forever. And when she goes, of course, you'll inherit, I should estimate about $200,000. Under the law, as your husband, a third of that is mine. And for that kind of money, darling, I can afford to wait.
How could you? How could you?
You're the bride. I'll let you choose the time, but it must be tonight.
Steve, there must be some other way.
There isn't. It's tonight or I mail the check.
All right. But late. It's got to be late.
I see your point.
3 o'clock.
All right.
I'll meet you at your house at 3 o'clock.
And be on time, Helen, because the United States mail is always on time.
Oh, there you are, Patrice.
Oh, well, good night, Mrs. Hazard.
I've been looking for you.
I wasn't too long, was I?
No. Do you know that fellow, Georgeson?
No, I...
Well, I'm glad you don't. He's no good.
Oh.
It seems he's a professional gambler. Wasn't sure until tonight. But he's done some of our members out of quite a little money, including me.
Bill, would you take me home? I'm terribly tired.
Of course I will.
Thanks.
Patrice.
Yes, Bill?
Have you thought about what I said this afternoon?
Yes, Bill.
Well?
I can't give you an answer now.
Will it be soon?
Yes, Bill. Soon. There was nothing else to do now. I waited until the house was dark and I was sure everyone was asleep. And then I slipped out and got the gun that I'd found one day in a cupboard in the garage and drove out to meet Steve. He didn't need to worry about my being on time. I was there right on schedule.
Well. Come in. Anything you'd like to have before we start?
Yes. I'd like to see the check.
Why?
Oh, I just want to make sure you still have it.
Oh. All right. Here it is, right here in my coat. Helen, put down that gun.
You deserve this. You deserve every bit of it. I took the check out of his pocket and burned it in the fireplace. I threw the gun as far as I could into the lake. Then I drove home and let myself into the dark, quiet house. And although I had just killed a man, I slept like an innocent child.
Patrice! Wake up, Patrice!
Bill, what time is it?
It's morning. I'm sorry to wake you, but they'd only give me a few minutes.
Bill, what's the matter?
I've just been arrested, Patrice, for murder.
Murder?
I just wanted you to know from me, first of all, and tell you I didn't do it. No matter how bad it looks, I didn't do it. But they know I threatened him publicly about the money he cheated me out of, and the bullets were the same as for a German Luger I got in the Far East, and people around town knew I had. Although they haven't found the gun yet, and they found me out there. I'm going to have a showdown with him. A farmer that delivers milk came in just as I got there.
Bill. Who?
Georgeson. Stephen Georgeson.
Oh, Bill.
I'm afraid you'll have to come along now, Mr. Hazard.
Oh, darling, don't worry. But you know I didn't do it, don't you?
Yes, Bill. I know that you didn't do it. That's why I've written this. It's one of those things you read about in the papers. A signed confession. Oh, they've been terribly nice to me. Hired the best lawyers. They say maybe I won't get too bad a sentence. And Bill says that no matter how long it is, he'll still be waiting. But I wonder.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, selected for your pleasure from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. And now we bring back to our suspense microphone the star of tonight's play, one of Hollywood's finest young actresses, Miss Susan Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Niles. I didn't know you cared.
Why, Susan, you know very well that everyone on Suspense is mad about you. But with that devoted and very husky husband of yours hanging around, I'm afraid we'll have to remain just friends.
Friends it is then, Ken.
And, Susan, when some of your many friends drop in so you can entertain them in the grand manner, Roma presents you with this gift basket of Grand Estate California wines.
Wonderful. Your Grand Estate wines will be just the thing for the holidays.
Right, Susan. There's nothing finer than Grand Estate Medium Sherry on any occasion. And Grand Estate Ruby Port or Golden Muscatel are perfect with dessert. Delightful with nuts or cake later in the evening.
And I get all those?
And more besides. Your Roma basket includes Grand Estate Burgundy and Sauterne. Proud wines that add dining pleasure and distinction to any meal. Yes, Susan, every Grand Estate wine is a distinguished, limited bottling by Roma, America's greatest vintner. Every Grand Estate wine is born of choicest grapes, then guided to mellow, rich perfection of taste by the unmatched skills and resources of Roma master vintners. When you serve Grand Estate wines, you enjoy the crowning achievement of vintner skill.
Well, that's good enough for me, Ken. I hear that Joe Cotton is to be your star next Thursday on Suspense.
That's right, and the play will be something rather special, we think. Next Thursday, you will hear the premiere of The Thing in the Window, the very newest thriller to come from the pen of Lucille Fletcher, who has written some of our finest suspense plays, including the one which is probably the most famous of them all, Sorry, Wrong Number.
Well, that I'll certainly have to mark off as a red-letter day on my calendar next week. And now, good night. I've certainly enjoyed being with you all this evening.
Well, thank you, Susan Peters, and thanks to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of The Yearling, for arranging for you to be with us this evening.
Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Joseph Cotton as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Stay tuned for the thrilling adventures of the FBI in peace and war, following immediately over most of these stations.
In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Olivia de Havilland, Lily Palmer, Mark Stevens, and many others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills.
Suspense is broadcast from coast to coast and to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Yes, Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Joseph Cotton in The Thing in the Window, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better-tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Tonight in our Suspense Theater, we bring you the premiere of the newest suspense play written by Lucille Fletcher, the author of such distinguished radio dramas as Sorry, Wrong Number and others. But before we ring up the curtain on tonight's play and on the performance of our star, Joseph Cotton, let me make a suggestion. Why battle last-minute Christmas crowds downtown when the perfect gift is as close as your nearest wine merchant? Give magnificent Grand Estate wines, favored by discriminating wine users everywhere. From a single assorted case of Grand Estate wines, you can make several distinctive gifts and provide Grand Estate wines for your own holiday dining and entertaining, too. To give or serve, America offers no finer wines than Grand Estate. For Grand Estate wines, presented by Roma, America's greatest vintner, are limited bottlings born of choicest grapes, then slowly guided to rich taste luxury by ancient Roma skill and America's finest winemaking resources. This Christmas, for good giving, for good living, offer all 5 Grand Estate California wines. When entertaining, serve medium sherry, ruby port, or golden muscatel. For gracious dining, Burgundy or Sauterne. Say your Merry Christmas smartly with Grand Estate wines, the crowning achievement of vintner skill. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you
Mr. Joseph Cotton as Martin Ames in The Thing in the Window, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Mary,
Yes, Mr. Ames?
turn that vacuum cleaner off for a minute, will you? And come over here. I want to show you something.
Yes, sir.
Right here, out this window. Now look across the street. No, directly across, the opposite apartment. See that window? About 3 windows in from the left, with a kind of blue draperies.
Uh-huh.
There's someone sitting there in a chair. He hasn't moved all night. I think he must be dead.
Dead? Lord have mercy, Mr. Ames.
Take a good look at him and tell me what you think, Mary.
Okay. But I don't favor looking at a corpse, Mr. Ames. It's unlucky. Now, which window did you say? 3rd one over. Oh, I wish I had me glasses with me.
Over there, right there, where my finger's pointing.
I'm afraid I don't see it yet, Mr. Ames.
Oh, look, the window with the blue draperies. He's wearing a sort of a gray suit. The arm, can't you see the arm hanging down over the side of the chair?
No, sir. But you've got good eyes, Mr. Ames. If you see it, I'm not arguing with you. What are you going to do about it?
I don't know. Just began to notice it last night. I guess I first have to be sure the man is really dead.
That's right, Mr. Ames. You don't want to get yourself into any trouble. Maybe he's only sleeping, or maybe he's incapacitated. Maybe the poor soul's a stricken invalid, huh?
Maybe.
Yes?
Hello, I'm Martin Ames. Are you the superintendent of this apartment house?
That's what it says on the door.
I've come to inquire about one of your tenants.
What is it you want to know?
I live across the street, and, well, I'll be frank with you, sir. I've been looking out of my window across to this building now for 2.5 days, and there seems to be someone dead in one of the windows.
Which window?
It's the 10th floor. I've counted up from the street, and it's 10 stories up. There's a window with blue draperies about 3 windows in from the left, facing toward me, that is, and there's a man sitting there, slumped down in a chair.
Just a minute. I'll get out my chart. 10th floor up from the street, huh? Well, it's really the 9th floor. The lobby counts 1. We got 2 apartments there along the front of the house. It's in the front, yeah?
That's right.
Now, 3 windows in from the left, that'd be 9B, a 4-room. Oh, that couldn't be right. 9B is 2 ladies. You say this is a man?
Yes, the face isn't clearly visible. The head slumped forward. But he's wearing a gray suit, and he's sitting in a high wing-back chair.
I don't place him.
Well, maybe he doesn't belong in the house. Maybe he was visiting somebody. As I say, this is all conjecture, of course. He may not be dead, but I've watched him a good deal. I'm home a lot in the daytime. My profession, the stage, doesn't take up too much of my time, and it looks mighty suspicious.
Okay, I'll check on it.
Mind if I stick around?
Oh, no, sit down. I'll give 9B a ring first on the house phone.
Hello?
Oh, Miss Landis?
Yes, this is Miss Landis. Who is this?
Oh, this is Mr. Anson, the super. Everything all right up there, Miss Landis?
Everything all right? Why, yes. Yes, of course.
Okay, Miss Landis. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's that. No soap on 9B. 9A is in the country. Well, anyway, if I got the window straight, like you said, it ought to be 9B.
The 2 single ladies?
Yeah, only it couldn't be them. They're real old maids. They've been living in the house for years. Real old-fashioned type, you know. Say, if they knew you thought there was a man in that apartment, the 2 of them would just about jump out of their skins.
Well, I don't know what to say. If you're sure it must be that apartment.
Oh, yeah, that's the place, all right, but you probably just made a little mistake. You know how your eyes can play tricks on you? After all, it is a pretty wide street.
I don't think I made any mistake.
Anson speaking.
Oh, hello, Mr. Anson. This is Mr. Ames.
Again? It's not there.
But, Mr. Anson...
I checked up on the 2 apartments this morning. 9A is back from the country. Everybody's okay. And 9B is out walking the dog. No dead bodies in the whole place.
But I can see it. It's still there.
Okay, just where? Will you just tell me where?
In the same window. The one you said was 9B. Have you gone inside 9B?
No, but I asked them if anybody was sick or dead, and they said no.
You asked them? Well, why don't you search that apartment?
What do you mean, break in while they're out?
No, search it while they're there. Ring the bell, walk in, and do it.
Yeah, not without a search warrant from the police. These apartments, don't belong to me. I just take care of the building for the company.
Then let's call the police.
Oh, not me, mister. I didn't see no dead body up there.
Then I will. After all, somebody's got to do something.
I still maintain, officer, these 2 sisters are as refined ladies as you could find anywhere. High class, nice, church-going ladies. They used to teach school up here at PS 33.
Yeah, well, that don't mean a thing.
As it happens, there's a play on Broadway right now in which 2 nice old ladies commit murder after murder.
They got a dog in there. Now, will you tell me one dog that would stay for almost a week in a flat with a dead person?
I'm not telling you anything. All I know, this gentleman, Mr. Ames here, reported a stiff over here. And if he says there is one, there is. Until it's proved different. Right, Mr. Ames?
Well, I keep seeing the thing day in and day out. I'm not working at the moment and being home so much.
None of the other neighbors have complained. Dead bodies ain't exactly... Oh. It's right this way, please.
I hope they're home.
If they ain't home, you got a pass key, haven't you?
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to use it, though, unless for an emergency.
This is an emergency. A dog bite?
Sometimes.
Down, Buster. Down. Yes? Who is it?
I'm awfully sorry, Miss Landis, but there's been some kind of mix-up. These two gentlemen want to look over your apartment.
But why? It's not for rent.
Oh, I know. It's just, well, they want to search around and check up
Come on. Cut out the palaver. Hey, look, lady. A dead body's been reported sitting in one of your windows.
What?
Yeah. This guy lives across the street, and he's been seeing it over here for a week.
Oh.
So come on now, open up.
A dead body. Oh, but that's impossible. My sister and I live here all alone.
Yeah. We know all about it.
Excuse me a minute. I'll call my sister. Vivian?
Oh, come on.
It's the police.
Hey, look, lady, I'm not standing out here all day. Come on, give me the passkey, Anson.
It won't do no good. They got a chain on the door from the inside.
Open up in the name of the law.
How do you do? I am Vivian Landis. May I ask what this is all about, please?
Certainly, lady. I got a search warrant here made out by this gentleman to search your place. He says you got a dead body in there.
A dead body? Why, that's perfectly ridiculous.
Yeah, isn't it? But it's been reported. And kindly take that door off the chain and let us through.
Of course. First, may I ask, how did this peeping Tom see into our apartment? I thought, Mr. Anson, that we were quite private.
Well,
Look, he lives across the street on the same level.
I just happened to be...
Oh, well, then we shall have to keep our shades down in the future. Although one would think a grown man would have something better to do. Do come right in, gentlemen. Make yourselves right at home.
Thanks.
Is he coming in here, too, Mr. Busybody?
No, he doesn't have to if you don't want him.
Well, I most definitely don't.
Okay, Mr. Ames, you better stay outside.
Officer, I will...
Oh, he does want to poke around in our private rooms, is that it? Maybe he had some ulterior motive in worming his way in. Maybe he's come to get the lay of the land, and so he can break in someday to rob us.
Okay. He's not coming in. Now, let's take a look at your window. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Hey.
Yes, officer.
Now, what's the big idea?
You didn't find it?
No.
That's very strange.
Yeah? The only thing strange about it's your eyesight. You want to get your glasses changed.
There wasn't anything in 9B?
No.
I don't understand it. How could I have seen it so distinctly and it's not there? But perhaps it isn't in the window now. Perhaps they hid it while we were waiting outside the door.
Hid it? Now, where do you hide a dead body in a four-room flat? I looked in all the clothes closets, under the sofas, in the chairs.
Perhaps they got it out at the back into the service elevator.
Single-handed? With all the garbage cans and laundry going up and down?
Perhaps they had accomplices. Perhaps... Oh, you probably think... Oh, it's so terrible to keep seeing it and feeling it slowly decaying there in secret. Why, the thing could be there for weeks. It's so high above the streets. Perhaps it'll never be found. Perhaps it's already being destroyed.
Well, then, if it's gone, what do you got to worry about? You don't have to sit and look at it no more.
No, I hope it is. I tell you, it's really getting me down. I haven't slept for nights keeping vigil. I'm in a nervous state. I haven't been this nervous in years.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, look, why don't you try forgetting it for a while, huh? Try not to look over into that window. Or go away for a change. You've done what you could, Mr. Ames. If there is a stiff over there, well, that's my business, ain't it? And if there isn't...
You mean, you think I may be...
I'm not saying nothing, Mr. Ames. But if I was you, I'd try catching up on my night's sleep.
Miss Landis, I'm sorry to disturb you at this time of night, but I'm desperate. I haven't anywhere else to turn.
What? Who is this?
This is Mr. Ames, Martin Ames, your neighbor, the one across the street. I was in your apartment yesterday morning with the police, or rather, I was almost in your apartment. Your sister wouldn't let me in.
Oh.
Now, please don't think me a pest, Miss Landis. I don't mean to annoy you. It was only because I was so desperate that I initiated that search.
It's quite all right. Goodbye.
No. Please don't hang up, because it's worse now than it ever was. Miss Landis, I've been sitting here opposite your apartment, staring into your windows, and I'm only asking you to help me, Miss Landis. Help me, just a little.
Help you?
It's still there, Miss Landis.
What is still there?
The dead body in your window.
Oh, but there isn't. How dare you? When the police...
I know. I know now it hasn't anything to do with you. But would you do me just one favor, Miss Landis? Would you go into your living room and just check once more?
Oh, I won't. I'll do nothing of the kind. You're out of your mind.
Oh, perhaps I am, Miss Landis. That's what I'm trying to find out. Then perhaps your sister Vivian would help me.
She's not at home.
Oh, Lord.
And anyway, I don't see how you can see in. I pulled the shades down in there yesterday morning.
I know. They're all down still.
Well, then how can you see?
I can't. At least not the actual body. It's just the silhouette. I'm not maligning you or your sister, Miss Landis. If there's someone dead in there, it's not you who are doing it. But think of me. If you could just be here and look over there and see the shadow of those quiet fingers, that shoulder, that head.
Oh, please, stop it. Stop it. It's not here. It isn't.
Tell me just one thing, Miss Landis. There is a chair by that window, though, isn't there?
Yes. There's a chair.
A high-backed wing chair.
Mm-hmm.
And have you anything on it? Anything piled up? I mean, like curtains or cushions, a dressmaker's dummy, or...
Oh, of course not.
Or do you have a plant in the window in front of it, some kind of a odd table, anything that would cast a shadow like a man's head slumped forward or an arm hanging limp?
No. There's nothing. Nothing but the chair.
Then would you do me just one more favor, Miss Landis? Please, and as an experiment, would you just go into the living room and move that chair from the window, please?
If I do it, will you stop pestering us?
Yes.
Will you let us alone forever?
Yes, if it works.
If it works? What do you mean? Do you mean...
I can't tell, Miss Landis, until you move the chair.
Oh, all right. All right. Hello?
Yes.
I moved it away from the window. It's at the other end of the room, and there's nothing in it. It's empty.
Oh, I see. Well, thanks very much, Miss Landis. I know what I have to do now.
You mean?
Yes, Miss Landis. It's still there. Miss Landis.
Where is it? I want to see it at once.
Oh, yes, Miss Landis, come in. I hope you'll excuse my appearance. I've just passed another sleepless night.
So has my sister, and so have I. What do you mean by all this business, Mr. Ames? You have frightened my poor sister nearly to death. Seeing things that aren't there when you know that they're not.
I know they're not. Oh, I wish there weren't. I wish to heaven I'd never looked out that window. I wish those walls were solid stone and your walls... Oh.
You are a sick man, Mr. Ames.
Oh, am I? I wish I were, but I'm perfectly sane and well. I went to a psychiatrist yesterday, and guess what he told me? That there's nothing wrong with me, nothing.
I can't believe that.
Well, to you, I suppose it's a form of madness to persist and persist in seeing this hideous image. But not to me, Miss Landis. No. I finally come to an entirely different conclusion.
And what is that?
The supernatural.
The supernatural? A ghost? What nonsense, Mr. Ames.
Yes, I suppose it is nonsense to you. You've been a school teacher.
Yes.
You believe in logic and common sense, the things that give a pretense of solidity to this frail little life of ours. But I'm an artist. I've always had a feeling for the thing beyond, the intangible, the shadowy. We're children, Miss Landis. Children playing along the edge of the ocean. We laugh and toy with the waves and mock fright. But sometime, Sometime one of us slips down into the darkness. Sometimes the depths rise and we glimpse the yawning fangs of the eternal.
Well, you put things rather oddly, Mr. Ames. Just exactly what do you mean?
Simply this. I checked on that building with the real estate agents yesterday afternoon after I'd left my psychiatrist. And there was a murder.
In our apartment?
Well, the report didn't say. You know how they try to hush those things up, but it was a man, a young man, the lover of one of the tenants, a Miss Sweetser.
Sweetser? Why, that's the name of the people who lived there before us.
Oh.
But, they were an elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Sweetser. I never saw any Miss Sweetser.
She died. She was the daughter. She killed herself afterwards by jumping out one of the windows.
Oh, perfectly awful.
It's rather a ghastly coincidence, isn't it?
Was it out our window?
Who knows? She must have been a very neurotic person, though, this Miss Sweetser. Half-crazed, almost with love or jealousy. I checked on the details in an old newspaper.
Oh.
She cut his throat, nearly decapitated him.
Oh, good mercy.
And it said that when they lifted his body out of the chair later, his head almost rolled.
Excuse me. Mr. Ames, I'd rather not hear. I still can't believe if there is something, if there could possibly be something, why haven't we seen it too? Why should you
Haven't you seen it, Miss Landis?
No.
You sure? Never? Perhaps in the middle of the night, getting up and passing that room, seeing that chair outlined against the window, just in passing, perhaps? You've never had a glimpse?
No. I really must be going.
No. Please stay and look at it. I want you to see it out of my window.
My sister Elaine, she's very nervous, Mr. Ames. I can't leave her so long alone.
Then how will I know? How?
Well,
Miss Landis, I
No.
thought you came here especially. It'll only take a minute.
Really...
It's right in here in the bedroom. I just have to let up the Venetian blind. Oh, Miss Landis. Don't go. Miss Landis. Hello. Oh, hello, Sergeant. This is Ames, Martin Ames. I just called to let you know. I think you're right about that good night's sleep. Yes, I'm going away tomorrow for a long rest, shutting up my apartment. Yes, I'm all tied up in knots. I don't know what to think. Oh, they did. Yes, I saw the moving van in front of the house, but I didn't know it was those sisters. Couldn't take it, huh? Well, I can't take it much longer myself.
Whoa, Marty. Bravo, bravissimo, old boy.
Not so loud.
Why all the mystery?
The superintendent doesn't like me.
I should think he wouldn't like you grabbing this beautiful apartment right from under his nose. He probably had it promised to a friend.
But you've got it now, Ronald, just as I said.
Oh, so I have, old boy, so I have. And it's beautiful. You know I'm crazy about it. Marty, you've outdone yourself. You've been more than generous.
Think nothing of it, Ronald. I'm glad to do it for such a distinguished colleague.
Well, it certainly was nice of you. And I wish I could do something in return, Marty. I really do.
Oh, no.
Perhaps that play I'm doing next season. You know, there's a part in it, a rather small part, but very necessary.
Thanks just the same, but I'm doing pretty well just now, Ronald.
Oh. And I don't know how you found it, Marty. In this housing shortage.
Oh,
You know, why even the superintendent didn't know it was for rent. When your call came to my manager, I left rehearsal. I wouldn't trust it to anyone but myself. I left the whole cast just standing there when I came over. And when I asked this gloomy character, Anson, he said he'd heard nothing about it. I insisted, of course. I told him who I was. Finally, he called up. Sure enough, it seems these two sisters who lived here just decided to move out.
Really? Well, say, I hope you didn't mention my name, though. If Anson known it, I tipped you off.
Oh, no. You asked me not to. Anyway, I think my own name was enough.
Oh.
Seriously, Marty, how did you know? Were they friends of yours?
Oh, no. It's a rather long story. Here, let's sit down, shall we, in the living room. No. You take the chair. I guess they must have left that when they moved out.
No, thank you.
Well, to be frank, Ronald, I got this apartment by a ruse.
A ruse, Marty? What kind of ruse?
Oh, a pretty nasty one. I I frightened the last tenants away. I told them I saw a dead man sitting here in this window.
No, not really. How clever of you. Of course there was.
Oh, no. You see, I live across the street, directly across, in that apartment there with the striped curtain.
Oh?
One night, just sitting there late, I got an amusing thought. There was a kind of shadow across this chair, the one there that you're sitting in. It reminded me a little bit of a corpse. And it came to me that it might be fun to create a great part, a character, a corpse that wasn't there.
I don't follow you. Quite.
Some actors need a play, Ronald, to create a role. Others, the great ones, work out their own dramas. I proceeded to invent a part for myself. I was the eyewitness, the innocent bystander across the street who saw a corpse in here. And I kept seeing it and kept seeing it. And finally, by the power of suggestion, it became real enough to frighten them away.
Very clever. Wasn't it rather drastic?
I'd always hoped we'd be neighbors, Ronald. As a matter of fact, the whole idea for this thing came to me that day in October when you turned me down for that part outside of Sardi's, remember?
Oh.
You said you were looking for a place then.
Did I?
Oh, yes. It was then I thought how nice it would be to see you right across the street, sitting in this window. I simply had to bring it about.
Well, I have...
No, Ronald. Don't get up yet. I'm not through.
Really, oh boy, I'm afraid the gang at the theater, you know, they don't even know that I'm here.
They'll wait. People always wait for you, don't they, Ronald? I could call them for you, of course, but the phone's been disconnected.
Well, I'm afraid that I'm... which way's the door, oh boy? Now, really, Marty, it's been very kind of you.
What's the matter? Don't you like the apartment, Ronald? Aren't you going to take it after all my work?
Oh, yes, I like it very much. The door's locked.
Yes, Ronald. I'm afraid you'll have to find your way out alone. Yeah. That'll keep you quiet. Silence always became you better than all that ranting and glibness and charm, Ronald. And now I've got the part for you. A part to end all parts. You play it entirely in a chair. There isn't much action, not a line to say. You just sit, Ronald. You sit in this chair by the window. Yeah. It'll be the greatest performance of your career. You liked to hog all the fattest roles for yourself, didn't you? Well, this is a part that's been talked about up and down this street for weeks. You'll play the part of a ghost, a corpse that never was, a hallucination in my brain. And who'll be your audience? I will. I, the insignificant, outmoded ham who wasn't fit to appear in your precious plays, but good enough to put you here, Ronald. Who's the better actor now, Ronald? Goodbye, Ronald. See you across the street.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A. Roma, America's favorite wine. And now this is Ken Niles with a curtain call for the star of tonight's play, that perennial suspense favorite, Joseph Cotton. Joe, tonight marks your 7th appearance on Suspense in less than 3 years, making you our all-time champion guest.
No Cotton shortage on Suspense, Ken.
And no shortage of suspense when Cotton's on hand either. In appreciation of those 7 stellar performances, here's a Christmas present for you, Joe. Please accept this gift basket of Grand Estate wines from your host, Roma, America's greatest vintner.
Thank you, Ken.
And you're an outstanding host this Christmas when you serve these magnificent Grand Estate wines. For Grand Estate wines reflect the host's desire to offer only the finest. Grand Estate wines delight the most discriminating guests, whatever the occasion.
I'll remember that, Ken.
And don't forget, Grand Estate wines make ideal gifts. Friendly, thoughtful gifts in perfect taste. Yes, for gift or guest, America offers no finer wines than distinguished Grand Estate wines. For the holidays, keep on hand all 5 Grand Estate California wines. When entertaining, serve medium sherry, ruby port, or golden muscatel. For gracious dining, Burgundy or Sauterne. Each limited bottling of Grand Estate wine, carefully selected by Roma, is a wine outstanding in rare taste pleasure. So this Christmas, give or serve the finest Grand Estate wines, the crowning achievement of vintner skill.
Well put, Ken, but I must know one more thing. What about next Thursday's show?
Well, it's a double threat show with the honors going to 2 distinguished ladies. It's called Philomel Cottage. The author is England's #1 feminine mistress of the art of suspense, Agatha Christie. And our star will be the most provocative European leading lady to visit our shores in many a moon, Miss Lily Palmer.
Well, I've never missed a suspense show yet, and certainly next week sounds even more intriguing than usual. Good night.
Good night, Joe. We're all looking forward to seeing you and David O. Selznick's production, Duel in the Sun.
Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Miss Lily Palmer as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Stay tuned for the thrilling adventures of the FBI in peace and war, following immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Miss Lily Palmer in Philomel Cottage, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better-tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Tonight in our Suspense Theater, we celebrate the talents of 2 distinguished ladies. Our play is by Agatha Christie, England's #1 suspense specialist, and our heroine is the distinguished continental star who has recently come to join our Hollywood film colony, Miss Lily Palmer. But before we ring up the curtain on tonight's play and on the performance of Miss Palmer, let me make a suggestion. Rich in tradition is the custom of bidding the old year farewell with champagne. And rich in rare taste pleasure is that custom when you say it with Roma. For brilliant, bubbling Roma California champagne lends unforgettable distinction to your New Year's hospitality. And pale gold, sprightly dry Roma champagne, naturally fermented by the world-famed Charmant bulk process, is sparkling wine at its best. So make those golden moments live forever. Say it with Roma champagne. Roma champagne tastes better because the heritage of character that distinguishes Roma champagne begins with choicest grapes, carefully selected. Then Roma vintners' ancient skill, with the magic of necessary time and America's finest winemaking resources, guide this great treasure to taste luxury. Finally, from the famed Roma champagne cellars, to you comes Roma champagne, the finest in sparkling enjoyment. So welcome the new year with Roma champagne, golden masterpiece of Roma, America's greatest vintner. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you
Miss Lily Palmer as Alex Martin, with Raymond E. Lewis as her husband Gerald in Philomel Cottage, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Philomel Cottage.
What's that, Alex?
Oh, I was just reading the sign over the gate. What does Philomel mean?
Why, you little foreigner, we've been here for 3 weeks and you still don't know. Philomel is another name for the bird that's supposed to sing only for lovers. We've been hearing it every twilight.
Nightingale.
Of course. That sign, Philomel Cottage, is the main reason I wanted this place for us. Glad you bought it?
Oh, Gerald, this was a 50-50 investment, and you know it.
50-50. £1,000 from me and 2 from you.
But we did have to have the place, didn't we?
Oh, what an utterly hopeless romantic I am.
Well, you can't get out of it now. Oh, Gerald, do you know what day today is?
Today, it's the 13th.
It's our anniversary, darling. We've known each other exactly a month.
No, exactly 30 days.
Oh, Gerald, really now.
Hi.
What is it, dear? Do you have that pain again?
No. It's just a little indigestion, I think.
Oh, Gerald, let me help.
There.
Do you want me to get you?
No.
Oh,
Well, dear, it's 11:35. I'd better get on to the village. Want to get that camera equipment.
And the human timetable walks through the garden gate.
My dear, there's nothing wrong with system, even on a honeymoon. The sooner I go, the sooner I get back.
Come on, Gerald, forget your old photography. Why don't you stay and do some gardening? Be good for you.
It's better for old George. He gets paid for it.
He's not due again until Saturday. The place will go to rack and ruin.
Over my dead body. Goodbye, dear.
Don't walk too fast, dear. Remember last time? And be careful, darling. Be careful? Well, it had just slipped out. Be careful. I was swinging there on the garden gate, smiling out my happiness across a part of England that was as remote and placid as any you'd care to find. I wondered why I said such a ridiculous thing. If this were London, say, that would have... London? And slowly my smile fell away. I knew then that the memory of that last week in London had never really been far from my mind. That and that last talk with Dick on the top deck of the bus crossing Trafalgar Square. I'd never seen him like that before.
Gerald Martin. I tell you, Alex, the man's a perfect stranger to you. You know nothing about him.
I know that I love him.
How can you know in a week? You've only met him.
Well, it doesn't take everyone 7 years to find out they're in love with a girl.
That's meant for me, isn't it, Alex?
It's
Alex.
no use, Dick.
Alex, don't you know what it's been for me not being able to tell you? I couldn't, not with the income I had. And then I decided I couldn't wait any more. I was going to tell you anyway. And you know what happened.
Oh, I'm afraid I don't.
Yes, you do. That money you inherited. That money from your cousin or uncle or whoever it was.
Well, I don't see what...
You didn't think that I could ask you to marry me then, do you? You didn't think I could live off your money?
I'm sorry, Dick. Believe me, I am, but I... It really doesn't matter now, one way or the other.
Doesn't matter, does it? You can bet it matters to that Martin chap. That's what he's after. You mark my words, he's after your money.
Dick, it might interest you to know that Gerald has money of his own. Far more than I have.
And more than I am. Maybe that's the difference.
I've had enough of this. I'm getting off at the next stop.
Alex, please. All right. But let me tell you something. If you think I'm going to let Gerald cut me out and not do anything about it, you're very much mistaken. I'll catch up with him, do you hear? I'll catch up with him if it's the last thing I do.
I'll catch up with him if it's the last thing I do. It was just a heat of the moment outburst of hurt pride. I shook my head and shook it away. And then the telephone rang inside the cottage. Now, who could be calling? Couldn't be Gerald. Gerald had hardly had time to get beyond the turn in the road. Except if something had happened to him. If he'd had another attack. Maybe one of the villagers was calling to say that he'd... Oh, hello?
Alex, this is Dick.
What? Oh, who did you say? Dick?
Well, Alex, what's the matter with your voice? I wouldn't have known it. It's Dick Windyford.
Oh. Where are you?
Traveler's Arms, that's the right name, isn't it? Or aren't you acquainted with your village pub?
You mean you're here?
Yes, I'm on holiday doing a bit of fishing. Any objection to my looking up you two good people this afternoon?
Oh, no. No, you mustn't.
Why, Alex. I beg your pardon. Of course I won't bother you if...
I'm sorry, Dick, but I only meant that we'd be away this afternoon. Won't you come this evening?
Thanks very much, but I'll probably be away by then. Depends upon whether a pal of mine turns up or not. Goodbye, Alex, and best of luck. For
a long moment, I stood quite still. And then I walked across the living room, and by the time I reached the side porch, I'd made up my mind. I would say nothing to Gerald about it. I stepped out into the garden and... Oh, why, George! I thought we'd agreed that Saturday was your day here.
Oh, well, there'll be a fair over to Squire's on Saturday. And I says to myself, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, they won't mind if I come for once on a Wednesday instead of a Saturday.
Oh, of course not, George.
And then I thought, too, I might as well see you before you go away, so as to learn your wishes about the Boxwood exit.
Before I go away?
Aye, to London tomorrow.
Me? Going to London tomorrow? Now, where did you hear that?
I met Mr. Martin down at the village yesterday. He told me you was both going away to London tomorrow, and it was uncertain when you'd be back again. Oh, well, now, but don't tell me that you and the master are disagreeing already.
Oh, naturally not, no. This trip just slipped my mind, George. Yes.
Never could understand why anybody wanted to go up to London, though. Like Mr. Ames, what sold you this house. He went up there, and to live, mind you. And after fixing up this place like he did, with taps all over everywhere. You're going to take a loss, I says to him, when I seen he put the place up for sale. It's not everyone that'll have your fad for washing themselves in every room in the house like. But George, he says to me, I'll get every penny at £2,000 for this house. And by gum, he did.
He got 3,000.
2,000. The sum he was asking was talked of at the time, and a very high figure it was thought to be.
No, George, you see, I gave 2, and... Well, it really was 3,000.
Mr. Ames had the cheek to say 3,000 to you.
Well, he didn't say it to me. He said it to my husband.
Well, I reckon I'll do some spading now. And the price was 2,000.
Strolled on across the garden, I was conscious of a thin, vague thought struggling to make itself heard. And then abruptly it was gone. My eye had fallen upon a small, dark green object lying in the furrow beside one of the flower beds. It was Gerald's diary, my husband's pocket diary. I picked it up and opened it. I remember I scanned the entries with some amusement, once again reminded of Gerald's enslavement to time and system. On page 21 there was an entry. April 14th, Mary Alex at St. Peter's Church, 2:30. And then I looked at today's date, Wednesday, May 13th. Only one thing was written there in red pencil. It said, 6 p.m. Huh? Now, what did it mean? What was to happen at 6 p.m.? And something just... Oh, no. But this is ridiculous. What am I afraid of? Gerald is my husband. I love him. I trust him. Then I looked again at that cryptic entry. 6 p.m.
Oh, Alex!
Yes? Yes?
There you are. Oh, miss me, darling?
Oh, why wouldn't I? It's 3:00. You've had time to buy out the whole village.
Only the camera shop. Now, if I don't have the best equipped dark room this side of London, it won't be my fault.
If you're not careful, that dark room of yours is going to overflow the whole cellar. Oh, incidentally, here's something you've been watering the flowers with. Catch.
Oh, my diary. Dropped it in the garden, did I?
Mm-hmm. I know all your secrets now.
Oh, not guilty.
Well, I'm not so sure. What about your assignation at 6 p.m. today?
Oh, that. Well, you've caught me at last. It's a rendezvous with a very handsome young woman, quite remarkably like you, in fact.
You're evading the issue.
Not at all. That's simply a reminder that I want you to help me develop some negatives this evening.
At 6:00? Well, I'll be getting dinner.
We'll eat a light supper tonight. We might have just a sandwich or two and some coffee out on the porch.
Well, before we work on the negatives, you mean?
Yes, that'll be pleasant, won't it? You know something, Alex? I've never found anybody yet who could touch your coffee. No, really. And that covers Australia and Canada, too.
You and your mysterious past.
Why do you say that?
No reason. But, Jared, I do wish I knew more about you.
Alex, you're serious.
Well, I know it's silly.
Well, darling, I've told you all about me. My boyhood in Sydney, my life in Canada. Oh, I see.
You mean love affairs. You women are all alike.
Well, but there must have been other women. Oh, I don't mean that you're a bluebeard or
What?
something, but
Bluebeard?
surely...
What's your mind on such a subject anyway? You never mentioned it before.
Oh, I don't know, Gerald. I've been rather upset all day. I imagine I can thank old George for that.
The gardener, you mean?
Yes. He had some ridiculous idea. We were going away to London. He said you told
Where
him
did you
so.
see him?
Well, he came to work today instead of Saturday.
The old fool.
Why, Gerald...
Well, he is an old fool. I want...
Gerald! Oh, Gerald! Lie down here, darling. I'll bring you some water. Your medicine?
What?
Are you all right? Oh, I'm sorry, darling, getting you all upset about... Oh, just because of the stupid old garden.
Oh, I made some weak joke to him about being off to London in the morning. He must have taken it seriously, or else he didn't hear properly. You straightened him out, I suppose.
Oh, hardly. You know what a gossip he is. I didn't want the whole village to think my husband was leaving me in the dark about his plans. Are you all right, dear?
You
really?
Told him we were going there?
Naturally.
Yes, of course. Sorry you were placed in that kind of a situation, darling. Don't suppose you ran into anybody else today?
This far from the world, Gerald?
It isn't very likely, is it?
Well, Gerald...
Now, not another word. You aren't yourself now. That's quite plain, and I want you to have a little rest, a little nap. You'll be right as rain by 6 o'clock.
Must you do those photographs tonight? You don't...
My dear, when one sets the time to do something, one should stick to it. That's the only way to get through one's work. All right, up with you. Upstairs to your bed now.
Very well, dear.
I'll be getting things arranged in the dark.
I went upstairs to my room. I told myself there was no basis whatever for my state of mind. And still the turmoil, the doubt, the odd, unaccountable sense of dread persisted and grew until quite clearly I knew what I must do. Knew I must find some testimony to my husband's past, something to reassure me. And then strangely I remembered that single locked drawer in Gerald's bureau. I tiptoed to the door at the head of the stairs, opened it, and entered my husband's room. The key. If only I could find the key to that locked drawer. But there was none in sight. The closet, and then his coat pockets, and then... there at my feet. There on the floor. I saw it. I opened the drawer, looked down. A small packet of letters tied with a light blue ribbon. And when I saw the uppermost envelope, my face flushed with shame. They were my own letters, love letters written to Gerald before we were married. There was nothing else in the drawer, just a roll of ancient, faded newspaper clippings. When I glanced at the top clipping, it was from an American paper. Featured the trial of one Charles Lemaitre, notorious swindler and bigamist. A skeleton had been found beneath the floor of his house, and most of the women he'd married had never been heard of again. Another of the clippings described Lemaitre's behavior in court, his interest in the cameras of the news photographers, his sensational escape from prison, and another displayed his picture. Long-bearded, scholarly-looking fellow. It reminded me of someone. I glanced at the caption beneath the picture. Modern Bluebeard. Modern Bluebeard. My eyes went back to the picture, and in a flash, I saw the resemblance. I ran through the other clippings. Dates had been found in the man's pocket diary. Dates, it was contended, when he'd done away with his victims. He was an amateur photographer. He was from Sydney, from Canada. He was subject to heart attacks. He was Gerald. The room whirled about me. Dick had tried to warn me. Dick had been near me that morning, and I turned him away. It was then that I noticed a sound. There was a pipe in the corner, running up through the room. From below, near its base, something was striking at that pipe as though someone were digging. Yes, I knew then that Charles Lemaitre was preparing the dark room for the latest one of his victims. 6 o'clock. Less than an hour from now. All the jigsaw pieces shot into place. The money paid for the house. My money. My money only. The bonds I'd entrusted to his keeping. And then suddenly, I heard the quiet. The digging had stopped. Escape from that house at once, before he came out. The clippings, back in the drawer. Don't look. Don't lock it. Don't bother. Just get away. I rushed to the door, out in the hall, and...
Yes, my dear?
Oh, you startled me. I was just trying to find your nail file.
Were you, dear? Well, that's nothing to look so guilty about now, is it? Better come on down. Getting late, you know.
Gerald,
We just have time to make the coffee and sandwiches before we do the pictures, that is.
Well, I'll be right down, darling, as soon as...
we really mustn't delay, must we? Coming, Alex?
Very well.
Now, that's better.
Never mind, Gerald, it's...
Why, Alex, how cold you are.
Cold? Oh, yes. Yes, I am rather.
Well, that will soon pass away, I'm sure. Hurry along, dear.
Hurry along.
Yes, into the kitchen. Alex, what is the matter?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Now, I'll be all right. The kitchen. Here. Yes, I'll fix something in a second. You just sit here in the living room and... Oh, no, the porch. That'll be more comfortable, won't it? And I'll be right with you.
Splendid, Alex. I'll just go... Why, no, of course not.
What, Gerald?
How rotten of me not to have suggested it. Since you're feeling a bit under par, you can probably do with some help. I'll come with you.
I knew then that some way, somehow, I must get word to Dick. A possibility that he might be gone by now, I just put out of my mind. No more panic. No more panic. When I carried the coffee out on the porch, I glanced at the clock on the mantel. It was 10 minutes till 6.
A pity you're so abstracted, my dear.
Huh? Oh, why do you say that?
Because you're missing the loveliest sight you're ever likely to see again. Look out beyond the garden. The first soft shades of twilight. Twilight over Philomel Cottage. I say, Alex, you are below par.
What do you mean?
Well, it's the first time you've ever slipped on the coffee. You must have tossed in the entire canister.
I'll be more careful after this. Oh, dear. That reminds me.
Alex, where are you going?
Nothing to get excited about, Gerald. I forgot to order things for tomorrow. I'm just going to phone the grocer.
Grocer, this time of evening?
Oh, he generally stays late on Wednesdays. I'll be right back, darling.
Well, don't shut the door, Alex.
Oh, it keeps the insects out of the living room. Oh, you're not afraid I'm going to make love to the grocer, are you? Operator.
Exchange?
Operator, get me the Traveler's Arms. Please hurry. Hello?
Traveler's Arms.
Hello? Mr. Windyfoot, please. Will you? What? You don't know if he's still there? Oh, well, see, won't you? It's most important.
Don't let me disturb you.
Oh, darling, you do. I hate anyone listening when I telephone. But I do, Gerald, truly.
You're quite sure you're really calling the grocer?
Why, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure.
What?
What I mean is, I'm afraid I've got the wrong person. A perfect stranger.
I don't understand.
Someone I know nothing about.
You know nothing about, then why don't you hang up? Here, who's at the end of that wire? Let me see. Hello? Hello? It's dead. Oh. All right, my dear. Might as well get started. Oh, we're late now.
Late? For the pictures?
It's precisely 3 minutes after 6.
Oh, why, Gerald, it won't be 6 o'clock for 8 minutes. Look at the clock there on the mantel.
Oh, I don't go by that relic. I go by my own wristwatch.
Gerald, listen. Stop pacing and listen to me. I don't feel up to it tonight. I'm upset and I'm tired.
Alex, I promise you won't be a bit tired after it's over. No, I'm not going to wait 1 minute longer.
No, I won't do it. I'm not coming
Come
with
along,
you.
Alex, or I'll carry you there.
No!
You will, do you hear? You will.
Gerald, stop! I've got something to tell you. I've got something to confess.
Confess?
Yes, to confess. Something I ought to have told you before. I've had my secret past, too.
A former lover, I suppose.
Well, in a way, but something else. You'd call it... Yes, I expect you'd call it a crime.
A crime? You? I don't believe it.
You'd better sit down now, Gerald. There. I told you I'd never been married before, and that was not entirely true. There was a marriage when I was 22 in Vienna. He was an elderly man with a little property.
Go on.
I induced him to insure his life in my favor. And at one time I was a nurse with access to a number of poisons. And there's one poison, a white powder. You know something about poisons, perhaps?
No, I know very little about them.
How? Well, this one is absolutely untraceable. Any doctor would give a certificate of heart failure, and oh, no! No, I can't.
Go on, I want to hear.
Well, all right, I always made this his coffee for him, and one evening I put a pinch of this poison in his cup. I remember that evening how very much like this it was, how peaceful. He gasped a little and tried to move from his chair, but couldn't, and presently he died.
How much was the insurance money?
About £2,000. I speculated, though I lost it. And it was over 2 years before I married again.
Huh?
And he was a much younger man. Quite well off. There was a will in my favor. He liked me to make his coffee, too, just as my first husband had done. I make very good coffee.
Alex.
It was the same, along about twilight.
The coffee.
It was the same as the other. He just sat there in his chair.
The coffee.
And died. Our village doctor pronounced it heart failure. My husband did have a weak heart, you see. And that helped. It helped a great deal.
Alex, listen.
That netted me over £4,000. I didn't speculate with...
The coffee. That's why I tasted that way, you devil. You poisoned me. You poisoned me. I'll kill you.
Yes, I poisoned you. And already the poison is working, you see. You can't move from your chair.
You're lying. I'll kill you. I'll kill... Alex Royal. What have they done to you, Alex? Constable, go see what's happening in that room.
Roger.
Darling.
I had to tell him the most horrible story. Oh, I couldn't have kept it up any longer. You came just in time, Dick. You understood on the phone, didn't you?
Good darling, when I heard you say you'd got the wrong person, someone you knew nothing about.
Excuse me, sir.
What did you find, Constable?
A man sitting in a chair, sir. Heart trouble, it looks like, and,
Yes?
Well, sir, he's dead. Your husband, man?
You might say a perfect stranger. He was just sitting in his chair. And presently, he died.
Suspense. Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A. Roma, America's favorite wines. And now this is Ken Niles bringing back to our suspense microphone the star of tonight's play, a lovely newcomer whose great acting talent has carried her to overnight Hollywood stardom, Miss Lily Palmer. Lily, your performance tonight certainly qualifies you as one of Hollywood's reigning queens of suspense.
Well, thank you, Ken. But how can I accept another throne? I'm already married to the King of Siam.
You're what?
Don't you remember? It's my husband who plays the Siamese monarch on the screen.
Oh, yes, of course. And for your Majesty's entertaining pleasure this New Year's Eve, here's a little present from Roma, America's greatest vintner. A gift basket of Roma, California champagne.
Did you say a little present? I call Roma champagne a magnificent gift.
Well, true, Lily. And your friends will call Roma champagne magnificent, too. For pale gold, sprightly dry Roma champagne adds a touch of continental smartness to New Year parties. Naturally fermented by the world-famed Charmant bulk process, brilliant, bubbling Roma champagne is sparkling wine at its finest. So make those golden moments live forever. Say it with Roma champagne.
Say it with Roma. I will, Ken.
And, Lily, to bring you the finest in sparkling enjoyment, Roma begins with choicest grapes, especially selected for fine champagnes. Then ancient Roma skill and the magic of necessary time guide this grape treasure to rare taste luxury in America's finest champagne cellars. That's why those who know champagne choose Roma champagne, golden masterpiece of America's greatest vintner. So, welcome the new year smartly. Say it with Roma champagne.
Right, Ken. Good night.
Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Mark Stevens as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Stay tuned for the thrilling adventures of the FBI in peace and war, following immediately over most of these stations.
In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Dan Duryea, Alexander Hitchcock, and others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Suspense is broadcast from coast to coast and to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.